Welcome to Meals in Moments, where I get to learn how to cook my guests' favourite recipe and find out why they think it's so special.
Across the series, we'll be getting some great ideas from some well-known faces for simple and delicious meals that can be cooked up in no time. Today's guest started swimming for Great Britain at the age of 11 and went on to pick up Commonwealth gold, Olympic silver and broke over 200 swimming records in the process. And she's a mean juggler too. It's Sharron Davies.
Now, I always assume, even now, that because you're an athlete, and always will be, that food-wise, you've always got to be healthy.
Well, do you know what's really funny is when I was actually training, because I was doing 6 hours a day, I could almost eat anything. And then the first time round when I retired, I was nearly 19, and I was just used to eating like a horse, and within 6 months I looked like a horse. My backside was huge. And so I had to learn to sort of train myself back to eating sensible amounts. But I'm a real believer in moderation, you know, a glass of wine and a burger every once in a while, and as long as you have a good mixture, you know, you're fine.
Yeah, let's move on from that one.
For someone who spent most of their life underwater, there's only one thing that Sharon can cook us, a family favourite, homemade fish pie.
I was brought up in the West Country, so I love fish. And I'm really lucky because my kids will sort of eat anything, really. Well, I would probably, like you'd say, start with the potatoes, get those peeling, get those obviously boiling, so they're going to take the longest amount of time. And then I get some milk into a pan and I'd start to poach everything.
All right, well, let's go for that then as well.
All right.
I think lots of people won't know about you is you were brought up on a farm, weren't you?
Yeah, Dad was a kind of a farmer, but almost through necessity, really, because he was in the Navy initially, and then he got invalided out, and he had some money, so he went and bought a small holding. Started out with rabbits and lost his business in the early 60s. Then he did chickens, and he was one of the first people to portion it up, and then he did mushrooms. Right. And then he kind of went into insurance and coaching me, so he's had a very varied life, actually.
Whilst I prep the potatoes for mashing, Sharon makes the poaching liquid for the fish. Poaching is a great way to cook fish, and all Sharon does is heat milk to a simmer before adding butter for a rich, silky consistency. She then adds the bay leaves for their aromatic quality, their gentle bitterness drawing out the sweetness of the fish.
You know when you started swimming, you were sort of, what, 5 or 6 when you started, were you good from the start? You know, did you have a natural skill at swimming, do you think?
I think I was naturally a competitor. It's that old adage, isn't it? You know, a champion's born or are they made? And I think it's obviously a bit of both. But I think you have to have that natural attitude to want to win races. You can't put that into someone if they're not naturally competitive.
Do you ever look back and think you missed out on your childhood a bit?
A little bit. You know, the really funny thing is, I felt I missed out on silly things like watching last night television programmes, which in my day was Starsky and Hutch. You know, and you go to school and everyone was talking about it and I couldn't join in the conversation, which is really unimportant now, but at the time seemed really a big deal.
As the potatoes boil, we lower the haddock into the poaching liquid. This will only take 5 minutes, so be careful not to overcook the fish as it'll start to fall apart and lose its lovely firm texture.
I'm intrigued that you use frozen veg rather than fresh.
Only because it's there and it's quick. And I find with youngsters that the peas and the corn is something that just about every kid likes. Nearly all of us have that in the freezer.
Yeah, no, you're right. You are absolutely right.
If you're buying really beautiful fish, then it's, you know, it's quite nice to have some cheap ingredients in there as well.
Do you apply the same principle with your fashion sense then, Sharon Davies? That
a beautiful... Is it cheap?
A beautiful piece matched with High Street for that great combination. So what do you do for exercise? Do you still swim?
No, busman's holiday. You know, 6 hours a day for 20 years of my life. All fellas think that swimming's all about upper body strength. And in fact, it's not. You've got to turn the legs on. The legs is the engine, like on a boat. And if you don't turn the legs on, then the body's in the wrong position and you don't go anywhere. High elbows.
Is it high elbows?
High elbows. Yeah.
Right, and close in? Yeah,
and stretch at the front. Because, and again, swimmers have really long arms. This is a really good trick. Like, you want to do this?
Freak.
Yeah, I know.
Sharon's fish pie looks like one for all the family, but for a more grown-up version, why not add brandy to some chopped tomatoes for a lovely rich flavour, reduced briefly on a high heat before stirring into the white sauce. Also, you could add some salted anchovies and melt them down for a delicious alternative.
Stick in about half of that butter in the pan for me. We'll make a proper white sauce, which is dead easy to do. And kind of once you've done it, then I wouldn't say you'll never go back, but it's just kind of quite... All right, now, this is starting to bubble nicely. It's foaming up, and basically what you want is more or less equal quantities of butter and flour. So you're doing exactly right. And what we do now is we add this a little at a time. You can work quite quickly now as this beautiful, fishy poaching liquor goes in. Give that a good old whisk. See, beautiful. It's coming nice and smooth now. And a little at a time, we put the milk in. So what would you do now with your jar of white sauce? What would you do now? Stick in what your veg and the rest of your fish?
Yeah, I'd really just put everything in. I'd make sure that that's all sort of flaked up. If there was any skin on it, the skin would have to come off because the kids don't like the skin on their fish, that's for sure. You know, the other thing that I've found, and obviously you've got kids, so you're probably the same, but if they get involved in the cooking, they're much more likely to eat the food. Yeah.
And you put the scallops and the prawns in at this point as well,
Yeah, and I
Sharon?
would probably chop them a little bit.
OK.
Just so that, again, they're sort of bite size.
In go the scallops. In go the prawns. And what about your veg? Does that go in at this point as well?
Yeah, because if it's frozen, I think it needs a little bit longer probably to defrost as well, so the earlier it goes in, the better. Just adds a bit of colour too, doesn't it?
Love peas. Frozen peas for me is something that you have to have. Every single house. We need to do our mash.
My kids just love to mash potatoes and things. So
Yeah.
it's a way that they can kind of be involved, really.
OK, drain off those fellas.
So do something chefy for me with this garlic, because, you know, I want to be impressed now.
Just go like that. Just splat
I thought you said you liked this dress.
While Sharon mashed the potatoes with the garlic, I start to assemble the fish pie ready for baking. Simply spoon the delicious haddock, prawns and scallops in white sauce into a couple of baking dishes and grate in a good hunk of cheddar cheese. Add on the creamy mashed potatoes and more cheese, then top off with breadcrumbs. Put the dishes into a preheated oven until golden brown.
Now, salads, just a bit of green leaf?
Yeah, a bit of greenery. I mean, you know, you could add other vegetables if you wanted to. If you wanted to do normal other vegetables, you could, but I quite like the idea of salad and then some fresh bread or something.
What would you dress it with?
Oh, all sorts, really. I mean, olive oil, balsamic vinegar, just if there's dressing in the fridge. I wouldn't make it from scratch, because that's not what I do.
Well, this is dead easy then. In this case, this is just right up your street. Olive oil, salt and pepper, and then one of your lemons, which, of course, you always have lying around in your fridge. A little squeeze of lemon juice over the top like that.
Lovely.
And you have bread with this.
A big crusty wedge. Kind of crusty looking, like, you know, that's farmhouse cooking.
So for Sharon's quick and easy fish pie, all you need to do is poach haddock fillets in milk and butter with bay leaves, then mix it with fresh scallops and prawns in a white sauce. Add frozen vegetables and spoon the mixture into baking dishes. Then simply layer it with cheese, mashed potatoes, more cheese and sprinkle on breadcrumbs and cook in an oven until the topping turns golden brown.
Smells great.
It does smell good.
It is good. Nice white sauce. Happy with that?
I'm very happy with that.
You know what? The frozen veg is good.
It's just quick and simple, isn't it? I mean, it's and it's quite colourful when you cut into it, I think, because sometimes this sort of white food can be a bit bland. Good
work. You've done well, Davies. You've done well.
Oh, thank you very much, Rimmer.
Another medal for you. Right, then, let's finish this off. Then we're going to have a swim, eh?
Okay, then. A race?
Skinny dip.